Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Aquarium Online Academy. My name is Sophie, and I am one of the educators here at the Aquarium of the Pacific. I am also joined here in the studio by my friends Connolly and Jeanette, so they will be controlling all the fun stuff you see going on behind me. Now, something else they will also be controlling is our text and call line. So, we want you to be interacting with us. We want you to be sharing observations, asking questions, making comments, sharing anything you notice, and you are more than welcome to do so using these two methods we have down below. So if you are watching along live with us, it is 10 on Tuesday, April 15th, and you are more than welcome to text us live at 562-286-1838, and I will be able to respond to that live here on the air. And if you are watching after the fact but still would like to get in touch with us, feel free to use our email. It is live, Live, at lbaop.org, and we will able to get somebody back to you to help answer those questions or comments you might have had. Now, something that I really like to do at the beginning of our programs, and honestly any of my classes, is I like to practice making our observation skills. Typically, it's kind of early in the morning. We may have to warm our brains up a little bit. So, I like to talk about what scientists do and how making observations is a very big part of that. So, science looks like all sorts of different types of things, but a big thing that a lot of scientists have in common is that they make a lot of observations. Now, observations are just a very fancy word for talking about the things that you can kind of sense. Usually, in this setting, we'll be talking about things that we may be able to see with our eyeballs. So, observations are just a very fancy word for talking about things that you may notice or observe. So, I'm going to go ahead and step off camera and give you a couple of moments to make some observations about what we are looking at right here. What type of animal or maybe the type of habitat you are looking at. You may have additional questions too about like how come there's only a couple of animals? How come maybe there's no like ice or snow in this particular habitat? But all of those questions and observations can help you get more information about our animals. Now, the reason that I am giggling is because we just saw one of our friends here on exhibit take a little kind of hop. Now, actually, the animals that we are looking at right now will give us a clue about what we are talking about during this program. Now, if you clicked on the YouTube link, you probably already saw what we were talking about. But what types of animals do we have here in front of us? Or maybe what types of things do you notice on them? I definitely see an animal that is out of water. I notice there is some water kind of down here. I notice an animal that is out of water. I notice an animal that is kind of black, kind of white. I think from this angle, I can also see maybe some long kind of arm looking things on it as well. And then I see maybe not like a super big face, or maybe not like hair like us or like an otter or something like that. What type of animal do you think we may be talking about if we're talking about animals that live out of the water? It looks like they have different colors, and their faces and bodies look a little different than ours. Oh, if you are thinking birds, or if you are thinking penguins, you are correct. So right now we are taking a look at our live penguin cam. So if I were to walk upstairs outside to our penguin exhibit, we would be looking at the exact same view. So you are more than welcome, and I'll move over so you can see the little kind of link right here. But you are more than welcome to visit either our website or explore.org if you ever want to take a look at some of these live cams as well. So right now we are taking a look at our penguin exhibit, and right now it looks like we have about 3 of them, maybe 2, because we see some of them kind of going around the corner. And now a lot of the times, especially this type of year or this time of year, when people are coming to the aquarium, they're wondering, where are all the penguins? What are they doing? Did you move them somewhere? Are they somewhere else? What's going on with them? Especially because we don't really see any in the water or any on their beach right now. Now, the reason why you may not see as many penguins here on exhibit is because they are in a very, very special penguin season. They are in a season that we call their mating or breeding season. So, what that means is our penguins are, for the most part, kind of coupled up, and they have gone and started making little homes and decorating these little burrows and holes that you see in the back. Now, the reason doing so is because they will then spend some time in there, either with an egg Or maybe they will be sitting on or maybe getting ready to lay an egg, or sitting on an egg if they have one. So that's why we don't see many of our penguins out on exhibit right now, because they are in the process of trying to become some penguin parents. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later as well. But something else I do want to address, especially since we are already looking here at our penguin exhibit, is where's all the ice and snow? Why are they just on kind of rocks? Especially if you are like local to Southern California, you know just how hot it can get here in the summer too. So sometimes people wonder if this is a suitable habitat for our penguins. Now, this specific species of penguins that you see right here, these are called Magellanic penguins. Now, if you know anything about people that were exploring the Earth, you might have remembered the name Magellan. That was somebody who was exploring around different parts of the Earth back when we didn't have GPS and all of those fun things. So these penguins live in areas like South America. They can be found off the coast of Chile. And so because of that, they are totally cool here in the environment that we have. They actually, in their natural habitat, will be living on very rocky, kind of tough beaches like this. Sometimes beaches have a lot of sand, sometimes they're very rocky, so the penguins are totally at home in this environment. Now, sometimes if we think about areas in South America, maybe areas that are like really close to the South Pole may have snow, or maybe areas that are high in elevation like the mountains will have snow. But the area that these penguins are from, especially since it's on the beachy area, they're not really used to snow, so they don't really expect it here, and it might be a little too cold for them. So that's why our penguins, especially these Magellanic penguins, are totally at home in the environment and habitat that we have right here. So like I was saying, this is our penguin live cam if you ever would like to watch it as well. But this is the exact same view that we would get if I were to walk outside right now. So we spent a little bit of time kind of talking about this specific video that we are looking at today. But what I want to do before we go a little deeper is I kind of want to talk about what makes a bird a bird. Now, sometimes what you can do is if you ever have trouble thinking about what other animals have or maybe what makes them special, you can then start by thinking about what we as humans have. What type of animal are we as humans? Are we closely related to fish? Are we closely related to like frogs and lizards and those types of things? Are we more closely related to like warm-blooded animals, like maybe like monkeys, cats, dogs, things like that? What are you thinking? Well, we as humans are a type of mammal. So what that means is we are warm-blooded. If you are outside right now, you'll notice it's a little cold, so your body may be shivering to keep yourself warm. We also have hair all along our body, on our heads, on our arms. We also breathe air. So something that I am doing right now as I am talking is I am taking lots of big breaths, breathing in all of that oxygen. Now, another characteristic of being a mammal that is especially different between us and the birds that we will be talking about is we as mammals give live birth. The thing that makes birds different is that birds lay eggs. So mammals will have live birth. That means we are born, we are screaming, we are crying, we are eating, all those types of things. But when birds are first kind of beginning their journey, they first start off as an egg. So their parent bird will lay an egg. And then depending on the type of bird, they will be in some sort of nest, and the bird may either be sitting on them for warmth or protecting them. So even though the egg is already laid, it doesn't hatch right away. It still takes some time for the baby inside to develop before it turns into a bird that can then hatch from its egg. Now, another characteristic of being a mammal is that when we were first born, were you eating like pizza and chicken nuggets and all those things, if you can remember when you were like first born all the way back then? Not really, right? We couldn't really start eating solid food until our teeth came in. When we were first born, we were maybe eating things that were mushy. But the very, very, very first thing we had when we were first born is probably milk. So a characteristic of being a mammal is that we all eat or drink milk when we were first born. Now, birds are a little different. Since they are not mammals, since they kind of get their own sort of category, they will not be drinking or eating milk when they are first born. Their parent birds will have different methods of being able to feed them, but a big difference is that these animals do not give live birth, they lay eggs, and that they also will not be drinking or eating milk when they are first born. Now, something else that we'll be able to learn about birds is something that I think we may have to observe or get a little closer. So, Connolly, would you mind putting on just any close up picture of one of our bird friends? We were able to talk about birds, like in general, and how they're different from other mammals, but now I want us to make some more close up observations of some of these different birds as well. Now, I know the penguin cam is always a lot of fun, but we may not be able to get as close with them. Oh, perfect. Thank you. So now it looks like we have a picture of a different species of penguin. We can notice that they're different species because we got some different colors on them. We also see that their beaks may look a little longer as well. But what are some things that you notice on it? Maybe some really special body parts that may be different than us as humans. I know I just gave one of them away. When you look at the kind of mouth section of these animals, what do you notice? Do you see teeth like how we have teeth? Do you see lips? Do you see whiskers? Do you see noses? Those types of things? Does it look like almost like a very kind of long, drawn out nose? For any of you that are dinosaur fans, you may notice it kind of looks like the mouth or the beak of a pterodactyl. They have those really long, kind of skinny faces to them. So what these animals have in their mouth area is they have a beak. Now, the beak is usually kind of sharp, usually kind of hard, but beaks can be anywhere from like this size on birds to even this big on especially really, really big birds. And so the beaks are the things that will help them get the different types of food they like to eat. Now, something that's really special about these birds, and honestly all animals in general, is if you take a look at usually their mouth placement and what type of teeth or what type of beaks they may have, it will tell you a lot about what these different animals like to eat. So, for example, when we are looking at our penguins here, we see a kind of very long and skinny beak, and also it's kind of sharp on the end. What do you think these animals may be wanting to grab with beaks that are really long and kind of sharp on the end? Well, if they're really long, they may help catch things that are also kind of long. But also, if they're kind of sharp, what do you think that can help them catch? I think that if they have little sharp beaks, it may be helping them catch things that are maybe a little more slippery, maybe things that are really fast. Now, for our penguins in particular, they are living in areas where they are really close to the ocean. So that means they can go into the ocean to start looking for food. So, what do you think they are trying to look for or food that they are trying to find? For our penguins, they especially love to eat things like fish. And here at the aquarium, we'll also feed them different types of fish. I think sometimes squid. However, a lot of our penguins have their own preferences, so they may have different foods they like to eat. But having those long, kind of skinny, and little sharp beaks will allow them to catch food that is kind of fast, kind of slippery. And then something that is very funny about our penguins is that they do not have the best table manners. They kind of swallow their food whole. So using that long beak, they will kind of toss their food up, and then because they have a long mouth, their fish will just slip down their throat. And that's how they're able to eat it. Not really chewing, not really taking bites out of things, but kind of swallowing their food whole. Now, something else that's very special that you may not be able to kind of see with this video or this picture in particular, but some birds have kind of spikes in their throats so that even if the fish is still wiggling and moving around, it'll still keep going down in their throat and won't go back up and accidentally choke them. So that's something that's really special and something that you may be able to see in things like an aquarium, or maybe if you are ever getting a closer chance at like feeding these animals or learning a little bit more about them. Oh, look we got a great video right here too. But we see them just kind of swallowing it whole. Now, something else that's also very special about this video is what are some things that you notice about the little penguin we see right here? It kind of looked different than the ones earlier, right? The ones that we saw a moment ago were kind of black and white with a little bit of orange. They also didn't really look too fluffy like this either. So what we are looking at right here is a penguin chick or a penguin baby. And it is getting hand fed because it looks like it may not really know how to eat fish on its own. Or maybe it's still learning how to start eating its fish. Now, something else that's really special, and the reason that we can tell it's a baby is because the colors are a little different and because also it looks a lot more fluffy. Something else that really makes birds different than other animals is what coats their entire body. What do we have on our bodies? If you go ahead and feel your arms, you may feel a little bit of hair, but then you will also notice that we have all sorts of skin on our bodies that helps protect us. Now, for birds, the things that they have all over their body are a little different. They have all of these feathers. You can kind of start to see those tiny, tiny little almost lines right there. And those are a whole bunch of feathers on these animals that will help insulate them, help protect them. Now, with our baby penguins, when they are first born, their feathers have not maybe grown out all the way quite yet. So, our baby animals and baby birds in general tend to look very, very fluffy. They may not have their full plumage or their full coloration of their species yet, but you can always tell who the babies are, not only because of the size, but because they tend to look a lot different and they tend to look a little fluffier. Now, those feathers on the birds can definitely help tell us what type of birds they are, but they also will help protect them and then give them some really nice color too, which is actually really, really helpful for a lot of our different species. Now, if we go back to our penguins very quickly, I want to talk about something that makes them different than some of our other birds. Now, when you saw our penguins, you might have noticed their feet, yes, on the ground, and you may be thinking to yourself, well, don't birds fly around? I usually see birds up in the air. I don't really see them maybe walking as much, especially because they have those wings that can help them fly. But what's really interesting about our penguins is that these animals don't really fly. A lot of other birds can fly, they can dive, they can swim, but penguins can just kind of swim and dive. They're not as meant for, well, I guess, not as well built for being up in the air and moving around. But they will still use their flipper. Well, I guess not. Okay, I'm tempted to say flippers because that's how they kind of use them when they're swimming around. But they will use their wings kind of like flippers to help them move around in the water. Now, other birds, when they are flying through the air, will use their wings to help power them and give them some momentum. But with our penguins, we'll be using their wings to help move through the water. So even though some birds you see often in the air, with our penguins, these animals are never ever going to fly. However, they do look very cool when they are swimming around in the water. And I think we may have a video too on one of our computers about some of the penguins moving around too. And so, thank you so much, Connolly, for getting that on for us. So let's go ahead and take a look at how you see them moving around. Like I kind of gave it away earlier, they'll be using their wings to help push them through the water. But what are some other things that you notice? You may be able to see a lot of bubbles in here. You may be able to see them using their feet a little bit. But we definitely see a lot of them using those flippers to help push themselves through the water. So that's how they will propel themselves. And then they will use their little feet to help them steer. Kind of like their rudders on a boat, they can help them go in different directions. Now, I want to talk about all the bubbles that we see right there. What is that? Do you think it's all the penguins farting? Do you think they are maybe letting out air when they are underwater? What's going on with all those bubbles? Well, if you take a look at where you see the bubbles coming off of the penguin, you can kind of see them along their entire body. And that's because what penguins do is they will trap a lot of air in between their layers of their feathers. And when they are diving down, we see those air bubbles escaping. So penguins in particular, we notice here a lot at the aquarium that they are very, very specific about how they like their feathers to lay on top of each other. They also need to make sure that their feathers are all in the correct places because sometimes penguins can live in kind of cold areas. So having those feathers is a way to be able to better protect themselves, especially from those cold environments. So those are all the little bubbles you see moving around in here. Now, penguins are just one example of a type of bird that we have here at the aquarium, and they're actually a type of bird that don't really spend any time in the air. Let's go ahead and take a look at maybe another animal, another bird here at the aquarium, our super colorful ones that spend a little bit more time maybe in the air and not as much as our penguins. Let's see. What are our other... Here we go. We are taking a look at some of our other birds that you notice right here. Now, without giving away the name of these birds, what are some things that you notice about them? Or what are some things that stand out to you? Let's make some more of those observations. I know when I am looking at these animals, I see a lot of colors. I see green, I see yellow, I see red, I see blue, I even see orange. Now, as I mentioned, we see these birds a little bit more often in the air, and it looks like right now they are kind of high up on some perches or some branches in our aviary. So those are some things that I noticed right away. And all the colors on these animals actually gives us a really good clue about the name of these birds. These birds that we are looking at right here are a fan favorite, and these are our rainbow lorikeets. You may be wondering, well, why do you call them rainbow lorikeets? Well, it's because they have almost every single color. I think like every single color except for purple, every single color of the rainbow all along their bodies. Now, what are some things that are different about maybe the body of the birds we're looking at right here? The penguins kind of stood more upright a little bit. These ones look a little shorter. They look like they're maybe a little more leaned forward, and their wings look a lot longer than our penguins. Now, not only that, but their beaks look really different too. Their beaks have a little bit of orange, they have a little bit of a curve to them, but they're not the really long, skinny beaks that we saw on our penguins. So I wonder what these animals may be wanting to eat. If they have beaks that are kind of small, a tiny bit pointed, but they're definitely kind of sharp too. What do you think they may be wanting to eat? Now, also something that's really cool right here is we can see our lorikeet's tongue sticking out. Now, that also gives them a better chance at grabbing and eating the food they like to eat. Now, these animals are a type of bird called a nectivore. So, what that means is they will eat things that are kind of liquidy. They really like to drink nectar that can be found in plants. Here at the aquarium, we actually ship in a special nectar powder in order to give to, like, mix and then give to them so that they can eat it. But they like to eat things that they can get inside of plants, the nectar. They also like to squeeze all the juices out of our fruits that we may give them. So these birds actually don't even eat any solid foods, and they cannot, and that's because their throat is actually too small for them in order to swallow any of those larger solid foods. Now, something that's also really special about their tongue is that their tongue has a lot of little bristles on it. If you think about a toothbrush, if you think about a paintbrush, just like that, all of those little bristles or things sticking up. And that helps them because when they are lapping up that kind of liquidy nectar, having those little bristles, oh, perfect, just like this. Having those little bristles on their tongue means they'll be able to get a lot more on it and be able to better feed themselves as well. So that's what we see going on right here with our lorikeets is they are eating. Now it looks like they are eating or drinking some of their nectar, but also it may be a concoction of maybe like smushed or crushed up fruit because that's something that we give to them often as well. Now, what's really cool about these lorikeets is that we have them here at the aquarium, and people always wonder where they can see them out in their natural habitat. So, with our rainbow lorikeets, unfortunately, they are not native to California or the United States at all. They are from Australia, Indonesia, and the Papua New Guinea region. So, that's where you can find these animals. And now, something else that's also really special is that they come in different colors. So, you may see different colorations of these animals living in different places. Now, what's really cool right here is we get a chance to see two of our different species of lorikeets that we have here at the aquarium. We have these ones over here that have the kind of red and black. I like to think of them as almost tiger stripes across their chest. And that's most of the birds we have here at the aquarium, and those are called our green-naped lorikeets. So the ones that have the red and the black, those are the green-naped lorikeets. Now right here, we also have a really special one because this one is all yellow down the front. You'll notice that there's not really any red on this one, not any of those tiger stripes either. And this is another really special type of lorikeet called an Edwards lorikeet. So they have that more kind of yellowish on them. Now, if possible, are we able to find, ooh, perfect. You read my mind. We are looking for one that maybe looks a little bit more red, more kind of orange. The way that I like to think of these ones is if you have ever had those big orange and yellow popsicles, the ones that are really good, you sometimes get them in the summer. I think that these lorikeets, the Swainsons, Their coloration looks just like those big orange and yellow popsicles. So these are the three different types of lorikeets that we have here at the aquarium. So you'll notice that their beaks are the same, their bodies are mostly the same, but their colors are a little different. And that's how we're able to know who's who. Now, something else that's also very different about the lorikeets between our penguins is what you see right over here. These tiny, tiny little feet with the little claws on them. When we were looking at our penguins, we saw feet that were a little more, almost like maybe webs right here, a little bigger, and definitely used to help them stand up on things. With our lorikeets, since they spend a lot more time in trees, in different places, oh, thank you, this is a good one, they will have smaller little feet that I'd say are maybe more like, if you're familiar with like chicken feet, I'd say they definitely look more like that, but they don't have the webbing in between their little kind of claws, and they also have those little sharper points on the end too. So that will really help them grab onto trees, grab onto branches, and sometimes for our birds here at the aquarium, they like to hang upside down on the top of the aviary. So having those little feet will help them kind of grab and hook onto things, especially since they spend a lot more time in the air. Now, like I was saying, these ones are nectivores, so they will only ever drink nectar and eat things out of fruit. But what's really special about these rainbow lorikeets and also having, wait, this is a great video of one of our birds not only showing off all those cool feathers, but showing off how all those little feet work as well. Now, here at the aquarium, we give our birds lots of enrichment or lots of things for them to be playing with and keeping their minds stimulated. Because otherwise, they can be a little rambunctious, especially our lorikeets. So what you see right here is them hanging on some kind of plastic chain. You may also see a whole bunch of stuff in the background, like maybe cardboard boxes, maybe ropes, maybe beads, things like that. And we give them all sorts of stuff for them to play with. We also give them a Ferris wheel that they land on sometimes too. So we can put different food in the Ferris wheel and then they land on it and it moves a little bit. And that is something that's really good for our birds too, because how often are they landing on things that start to move? Especially here at the aquarium, they also land on people, but it's definitely good to be giving them exposure to things that they may not be as familiar with as well. So that's something that's really cool about our birds. Now, a question that we get asked a lot when we are here at the aquarium is, why do you have birds here? Normally, the people are very excited to see penguins, but when it comes to our birds like our lorikeets or maybe some of our other maybe shorebirds, ones that you can find more locally, people are always kind of asking why we have them. Especially because like some of them live in the water, some of them live near the water, but for the most part, not many of our birds will be living in the water like our penguins do. They get the free choice to kind of move around and fly around. And so we like to call birds an indicator species. What that means is they can give us a lot of information about the environment that they are in just by being there or by not being there. So what I mean by that is because birds have the option to fly somewhere else, and we get a good picture of them flying right now, because birds have the option to like quite literally get up and fly and move somewhere else, if they are living and staying in a habitat, that means they are finding food, that means they have good protection, that means that that habitat is very healthy and very thriving. Because if it wasn't, a bird would just make the decision to get up, fly somewhere else, and go live somewhere where it can find food, find all the things that it needs to be in order to be a successful bird. So if we see birds living inside of an environment, then we know that that environment is doing very well. This is especially important in places like smaller islands where birds can move somewhere else. If we see birds living on those smaller islands, that gives us a lot of information about maybe the type of fish or food sources that are there, and also more information about the habitat. So the reason why birds are important is because they give us so much information about the health and the status of a habitat. Now, that's something I was able to learn from one of our friends actually in animal care here at the aquarium. Something that's really special and something that we've been doing more recently is some of our husbandry staff, the people that take care of our birds, all of our other animals. They've been doing more presentations with the actual birds that they train and that they work with. So, by attending one of those little sessions here at the aquarium, I was able to learn from one of our animal care staff, Vanessa, about just how important these birds are in telling us about the health of an environment. And so, before that, was kind of also asking the question why we had birds here, but now that I know about that, I'm able to better explain that and then tell us about why birds are important. Because as we see here, they can just get up and go somewhere else if the habitat is not good for them. So by having birds and a good amount of birds in an area, we know that that habitat is doing very well. So, we spent a little bit of time talking about what makes a bird a bird. We talked a little bit about our Magellanic penguins, and then we also visited our lorikeets, our birds that are a little bit more in the air here at the aquarium. Now, of course, if you do have any questions, any comments, or anything else that you would like to ask, you are more than welcome to reach us at either our text line or our email as well. And I'll be able to put that back up on the screen so that you'll be able to see that. But if not, if you are continuing to be curious about birds, I definitely recommend checking out maybe some of our other Aquarium Online Academy episodes, maybe visiting the aquarium and catching one of those bird presentations when you have a chance, or even doing some more of your own research. Something else that's really special about science and scientific exploration is that we cannot possibly know everything all the time. We are always finding out new things, always learning things, and sharing stuff with other people. So if there are ever things that you are more curious about, I definitely encourage you to do some research on your own and see what type of information you can find about these animals. So once again, everybody, thank you for joining me and learning about our birds that we have here at the aquarium. If you do have any more questions or comments, you know where you are able to reach us. But if not, thank you for tuning in. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye. Thank you.